Playoffs are bust. Well, Ole Miss is banking on retention, not the transfer portal, in order to make the playoffs happen. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're proud to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network because it is now the #1 sports podcast network in America, and that is all because of fans like you taking in content like this. So we can't be more appreciative of that. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Ole Miss Baseball, a team with an incredibly high ceiling, but also a team with a very low floor if they can't start manufacturing runs once SEC play begins. We'll break down what needs to happen for the Rebels to unlock that potential. Next, it's time to start the conversation about a Big Ten SEC breakaway from the NCAA as more pressure builds around college football's biggest revenue streams. History shows that once people start coming after your money, they don't stop. So what might a breakaway actually look like? And first, we talk Pete Golding and Ole Miss did some of their best work this offseason in retention rather than the transfer portal. Hey, and they still finished number 2 nationally in the transfer portal rankings. That's exactly why Ole Miss fans should be excited right now. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is, and that is your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, well, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, so it's interesting whenever you start looking at, you see the transfer portal rankings and see that Ole Miss is second nationally. You see all the great players that came in, and I'm about to tell you something strange. And if you're a fan of Ole Miss, which a lot of you listen to this podcast are, you realize that Ole Miss was pretty loaded on a roster basis last season. And this season, it was about supplementing that roster and trying not to lose as much as you could, if that makes sense. There was a chance a lot of players could disappear, much more than just Prince Will Amamielon and TJ Daugherty. Much more than Winston Watkins, okay? There was a chance for an Iowa State type movement, a Penn State type movement. All of that happened, but it was shut down by Pete Golding and the Grove Collective's Walker Jones to keep players around the football program. And they got some really good ones to stick around. We're going to start with Trinidad Chambliss, and everybody's going to be like, okay, Trinidad won his court case and all of that. It wasn't necessarily a decision to do that. No, it was a decision. Trinidad Chambliss has been recruiting players for 2 months as if he was going to be the starting quarterback in 2026. He thought he was going to be here. And to be honest, he deserved to be here. But he took that opportunity to recruit the players around him, different connections that he was able to get, the ability to use his name. For instance, Ole Miss wanted Luke Farrelly in the transfer portal window. They used Trinidad Chambliss and Jackson Dart to help make that happen. So whenever you're talking about Trinidad Chambliss coming back, it was a decision by Pete Golding. He decided he wasn't going to go after Brandon Sorsby or Sam Levin or any of these other $5 million guys because he had his guy. Now, it might be a little bit unconventional to make that happen, but it was there. And because of that, Trinidad Chambliss, who had a massive year throwing for nearly 4,000 yards in 15 games over the course of the season, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, he is somebody that is going to be the leader of this team, the biggest piece. Now, he would have been by far the #1 player in the transfer portal if he went in the portal. Period. He's a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy for a reason. And he's not only the only Heisman favorite that is in the backfield for Ole Miss. You look at Kewan Lacy, had a little over 300 carries on the season, 1,567 yards, 24 touchdowns. He is just simply the best running back in college football. And Patrick Carneiro, he was offered 7 figures by a certain school down south to transfer. That is because he's the best kicker in all of college football, 31 to 35 with a long of 58. And anybody that watched the Sugar and the Fiesta Bowls see what kind of a weapon this player can be. He was 5 of 7 from over 50 yards. Really big-time player. Kewan Lacy had to fight off a charge from LSU, Texas, even though he wasn't in the portal, for those who are getting their pearls clutched over the transfer portal on tampering. He did all that with a huge offering, and in a podcast with Michael Irvin, admitted he took less money to come back to Ole Miss than to go to another location. That's smart, by the way. Money, if you're just in for the cash grab now, that's the way to go. If you're in for the cash grab in the NFL, you probably want the other year of development for Kewan Lacy. Lucas Carneiro, he's going to kick on Sunday. He's an NFL kicker. But that isn't all for Ole Miss. And when you look at what Ole Miss has coming back, there's Will Echoles. Will Echoles played the 3 technique. The defensive lineman had 68 tackles, 5 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss. Most of those tackles for loss and sacks occurred in the second half of the season. He is the player that is being kept to be this team's Walter Nolan for 2026. That's the reason that Ole Miss didn't go out and try to get a 3 technique. It's because they already had one that they were very excited about in Will Echoles. And they talked about him in the recruitment and all of that. Randall Joyner picked him out as somebody that can move forward. This is all retention. This is what this Ole Miss team is banking on. This is what this team and Pete Golding think can get them over the top. This is what Pete Golding thinks will get to the playoffs and win games. The ceiling of this team is based completely off of these players, in my opinion. And the last player is Suntarine Perkins, who had 81 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss. He had 10.5 sacks as a redshirt or sophomore, and everybody thought he was going to go to the NFL. He was never a transfer risk. But he came back and chose Ole Miss, just like Trinidad Chambliss, over the NFL. Kewan Lacy chose over the transfer portal. Will Echoles chose over the transfer portal. Lucas Carneiro chose over the transfer portal. These 2 players chose over the transfer portal and the NFL. And when you look at other players on the roster, Patrick Kudas, that's the offensive lineman in college football in the state of Mississippi, the best one. Won the Kent Hall Award down in Jackson. Delano Townsend transferred in from UAB, stuck around. The whole interior of that offensive line is ready to go. And when you look at those pieces and the young players like LaDarian Clardy and those guys that are sticking around, this team has a chance to be not just good but great, not just elite but special. And that is because of the talent that it was retained, not the talent that they kept brought to supplement in the transfer portal. Remember, this team finished number 2 in the nation in the transfer portal, according to 247 Sports. When you have Luke Farrelly and you grab 0 techniques like Jaheim Otis and Michael Burrow, in the defense of Edwin Joseph and Janelle Aguero, when you bring in a corner like Jay Crawford, it's going to have a chance to be elite on the back end because of what you were able to supplement it with. It's honestly like the 2024 season was supposed to be, except a lot of these big name pieces almost didn't have them. It was Jackson Dart and Trey Harris and trying to build around that. You remember Quinshawn went to Ohio State and they panicked in the transfer portal and signed every running back they could for about 3 or 4 weeks. None of them panned out. You ended up starting a 5th-string wide receiver at running back against the Florida Gators. There were holes on this team, even though you had the best defense in all of college football and one of the highest scoring offenses in all of college football. There were holes on the team because the retention wasn't at the same level. The offensive line returning wasn't like the offensive line that's returning here. This Ole Miss football team has a chance to be really good, really special. And it is because of the work that Walker Jones and Pete Golding did in retaining these players. And before spring practice starts, I wanted an opportunity to basically let everybody know that when they're looking for the new players on the practice field, whenever that starts on March 23rd. Whenever you're looking at those new players that came in, the Jonte Cooks and the Mekhi Fraziers and all of them, remember the players that are coming back, because they're the reason that Ole Miss is going to make the playoffs in 2026. It's on them. It's their team. These other players are just supplementary players. Now, very good players, but supplementary. So that is just something to keep in mind. So next, we're going to talk about revenue gaps, super conferences, and a growing tension across the sport. If college football is broken, what does a fix look like? This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. All that coming up next. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who know there's more to the score than what's on the screen. Judd Utermark is out here just knocking the cover off of the baseball for the Ole Miss Diamond Rebels as he hit 2 more home runs against the Memphis Tigers on Tuesday, a 7-1 win. This team and Judd Utermark is well on his way to being the all-time home run guy at Ole Miss. He needed like 20 hits, 20 home runs at the beginning of the year to achieve that goal. He's about halfway to that point now, and he's next up is Kevin Graham he can tie with. I think he's tied with Stephen Head right now. These remind us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the field, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit. We put that same passion into every model, highlights that make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to Mazda because there's more to you. So head to a Mazda dealership. Test drive one today. Hey, do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing but keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast in America. That is appreciated. If you haven't already, go check out our Everydayer Club. It has access to an ad-free audio feed on Locked On Ole Miss, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically wherever you get them, every major podcast app, they have it. You get an invite to a Locked On Everydayers Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for just listeners of the show. Listen, we also have a subtext channel to where we're trying to figure out a way to blend in a little bit of Ole Miss 365 type stuff as well and get that out to people. It's going to be really fun. We have trouble with the subtext, trying to figure out how to use it because of the multiple discords that are going on right now. We are growing so fast, we are having trouble keeping up with what we need to do, honestly. You also get a merch discount for the hat like this if you're an everydayer on the show as well. So special access to all access episodes from Corey Burton, Dalen Flowers, and Mike Huseman. Those are up on the website as well. So go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com and tap the link in the show notes to learn more. So in the last week, we heard about the summit that is going to take place that Cody Campbell got invited to. He's the Texas Tech mega booster getting in there. And he's trying to get an act of Congress passed where the Sports Broadcasting Act gets changed to where college conferences can pool their resources because they want everybody in the college football to pool the resources and they think they can make a ton of money and all of that. We proved that that's not true. The two conferences that would hurt would be the SEC and the Big Ten because they make so much money. Now, everybody else would get a raise, a significant raise, but the SEC and the Big Ten would take a major, major haircut. We're talking like $20 million. Then in Dallas, Texas, there was another one that popped up. This time had our friends at LSU attached to it, with the president attending the demonstration, or whatever you want to call it, the proposal. And it's, again, they want to pool media rights, but that's backed 100% by private equity. Remember, the reason you don't have fun places to shop all over the place, the reason malls don't exist anymore, is because private equity got involved. LSU being involved with this can't be a good thing for the Southeastern Conference, and I imagine Greg Sankey is not very happy at all. Maybe at the end of the day, this could all get swept under the rug, and there's just a couple of 11 o'clock kickoffs in Tiger Stadium next year that they have to deal with. That would be a fun thing for them. But all of this happening, when people start going for the money, for your money, they generally don't stop. They don't say, okay, my bad. No, they're going to find another way to try to go after it. Then they're going to find another way to go after it. And then they're going to find another way to go after it. And they use the public sentiment where more people are not Big Ten or SEC fans than are. And the people that are not love to yell at the haves as opposed to them being a have-not. So we can't just say that there's going to be inaction in Congress, because all of those people have constituents. And if they listen to them in every single state, if there's a Southern Mississippi person, they would love to stick it to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. A Troy person, no matter how small the conference is, they see this as a way to even it up by taking what's yours. So once it starts, it really doesn't stop. So the conversation needs to start being had about a true breakaway of the Big Ten and the SEC out of whatever this is. And for good measure, you should probably take the biggest brands that are out there right now, because I can assure everybody there will be a line of teams looking to get into this league. I would call it something like the Premier College Football League of America or something like that. And basically you will have 45 of the best teams in Division I, the teams that everybody watch, competing in football and basketball and baseball in one location, in one situation, with a TV contract from ESPN and a TV contract from Fox and whoever they want it. Because if they pass it to where you can pool bids, break away and then pool with the Big Ten and create a ginormous super league that's making $5 billion a year and only splitting that pie up by 45 teams. You would clear easily over $100 million, and you would solve a lot of the problems within college sports, especially Olympic sports, because more money means you can use more money in the programs in your school. It doesn't have to be pooled. Now, how would this be for Colorado State or Louisville or anybody that would not get into this club potentially? Well, it'd probably be bad for them until they realize that, hey, everything just got a lot less expensive because we're not trying to keep up with those guys. Now we're the big guy on campus. The Louisville Wake Forest game is a high-level game in that realm. That SMU Oklahoma State game is an elite game in that classification, in that division. It's not SEC Big Ten Premier League of America level in basketball or whatever's up, but it's close. You can have a situation where you create your own March Madness, and if you have 48 teams inside the tournament, you have a 48-team tournament. Everybody gets in. And you know what? The ratings for that would be about the same as the March Madness tournament, because you would still have times for upsets. If a 12-18 Ole Miss team going up against whatever superpower you want to look, they're playing Florida or something like that, or Michigan. If Ole Miss is playing Michigan, that would be the equivalent of a 116 game. It would, period. Americans love brackets. It is what it is. So when you see these teams get together, you will have massive ratings. You will have maybe not NFL ratings, but probably pretty close. And you can build this around this new era. You get to completely rewrite the rule book, figure out what works, what doesn't, and set it up for 45 teams. That's all you have to enforce, or 48 teams, whatever that number is. That's all you have to enforce. You're not enforcing on 350 teams across 4 different divisions. You're not having to do that. You're simply enforcing your own stuff. You compete in the major sports, and the rest of them, if you go to the NCAA, and if the NCAA won't have them, you drop down to NAIA. I'm sure NAIA would welcome you with open arms for the sports that are not like major league, put together. If there's enough to play that, you obviously play it under the same umbrella. Nobody in the country, nobody would miss college football splitting into 2. None. Nobody. There is not a person in the world that wants to see an Oklahoma-Texas Tech game. Not anymore. Doesn't really matter. Not a person in the world that wants to see an Ohio State versus Southern Miss game. Nobody. Or Georgia Southern. And when everybody's in it together and it's a murderer's road, you have 11 or 12 games that are Power 5 games. There's no scheduling conflict because the only people you can schedule are inside that window. The fans win. Everybody wins. The younger schools, the less fortunate schools that are sitting in the less end of the Power 4, the Big 12 and the SEC, they can exhale. They can be the big dog in this new conference if they don't choose to try and jump up, because Florida State and Miami absolutely would. Clemson absolutely would. Virginia, North Carolina absolutely would. Notre Dame absolutely would. You look at the Big 12 schools, I'm sure that Cody Campbell, whenever all of this is falling by the wayside, he would try and buy his way into the Southeastern Conference. This is the best system. The SEC and the Big Ten breaking away from the NCAA, creating rules and everything for 45 teams that have to be enforced and sticking to it. And you can also set it up since there's such few number of teams that college teams can unionize and you can collectively bargain rules. And all of that would be much easier than dealing with whatever the NCAA is dealing with right now. See, the problem with this Save College Football, Save College Sports, and the Smash thing in Dallas is they're trying to do too much to too many teams. It's too big. You can never make it work because it is just massive. This SEC Big Ten team thing would work. And if they pass their Save College Sports there for their 90 teams or whatever's left, it would work for them. That is the best way for this to go. Anyway, Ole Miss baseball can look like elite one night and vulnerable the next. It's a high ceiling, low floor problem. It's coming up next. The biggest stretch of the college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, well, that is bucket list stuff. The hard part is always getting tickets, long queues, prices jumping around, and surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the prices you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat view feature, well, that's a game changer. You can see a panoramic view of your exact seat before you buy. Zone deals let you take it a step further to where you can pick the selection and save even more while Game Time selects the seats. And I love being able to follow teams in the app and get alerts when new deals drop. There's no stress, no guesswork, just smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. With 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, and Cotton Candy, there's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I have my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. You know, whenever you have these, you want something that is simple, something that is consistent, and something that no matter when you pick the bottle up, it's going to be exactly the same way. For me, that is the grape flavor. Whenever it's simple, I get it, all of that stuff. I like that it's consistent and you can find it absolutely everywhere. It isn't something that you hope somebody has. It's going to be one of the two options that's sitting in absolutely every bin that you look in. So that is what I'm drafting number one. You know, an unrated flavor that might be a sleeper pick that you're looking at is pomegranate. If you've ever tried pomegranate, it has a nice little tangy kick that can get you from time to time. And, you know, Confetti Craze and Fruity Rainbow, that's great, but cotton candy is a cool little sweet treat if that is your jam. You know, alternatively, you could go back and just go with berry, which was the original 5-Hour Energy flavor. And that would be really cool. It gives you a shot of boost with zero sugar. 5-Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. I want to see, I don't know, maybe a cherry limeade flavor. I like to see that just a little bit as well. So find your new favorite flavor at 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5-Hour Energy or at Amazon. All right, so this baseball team, and we don't have much time, so I spoke a little bit too long earlier, but this baseball team has an incredibly high ceiling and an incredibly low floor. By high ceiling, they have an elite pitching staff. Their Saturday starter might be the best pitcher in the entire SEC. Hunter Elliott's going to figure it out. They're going to be able to win games. And because of that pitching staff, they are always going to be in even when the bats aren't working quite right. Low floor has to do with the fact that they are 3 outcome hitting. They're walking, they're striking out, and hitting home runs. That's basically what they're doing at the moment. But whenever you put that together with the pitching staff, it can work, but the margin of error is small. So if the pitchers walk batters, you can't do that. And if the fielding problem persists, which it looks like it will absolutely be a problem. Remember, when it comes to the 3-factor outcome hitting over the course of SEC pitching, it's going to be much more difficult to do this. I mean, Judd Udermark and Tristan Becerra and all those guys are doing great right now, but I want to see Ole Miss manufacture runs. I want to see them hit doubles. I want to see them play baseball, not just home runs, not just walks, the whole 9 yards. I do like that when they get on first base, they try to take second. Stealing, that's a great part of the game. But if you don't string together some hits. They had 3 home runs against the Memphis Tigers. They had 3 hits, 2 singles and a double. And I just don't know that you can win many games doing that way. So we'll pay attention to what's going on with them and to see how that goes going into this weekend with Evansville. Thanks for tuning in today to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk transfer portal, spring football, baseball all week. So make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all of the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check that out. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer channel was built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com and join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you check out a second listen, either Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football. Is right there for you. Hotty toddy, and hopefully this weekend against Evansville, it starts to turn around a little bit. We'll see. Anyway, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.